A few days ago, we celebrated the Epiphany, the story of the Magi following a star to find the newborn king. Their journey to the Christ child was one that involved taking risks and grappling with questions they didn't have answers to. Perhaps they asked themselves, what compelled us to follow this star? Would they even find the child that they're looking for? What awaited them at the end of the journey? Why us? And yet they pressed on, guided by that star, the light of the star. And their faith wasn't passive, it was courageous. Courage to leave behind familiarity, it took courage to step into the unknown, and it took courage in trusting that God would meet them along the way. Now, we find ourselves in this time of transitions. We've now entered into a new year, leaving behind 2024 and stepping into 2025. The Christmas season is about to draw to a close, and soon we'll return to the rhythms of ordinary time. Though I like to think that ordinary is rarely the best word used to describe our lives nowadays. The first winter storm of the season has swept through, reminding us that the seasons of warmth give way to seasons of challenge. The world around us, too, is experiencing shifts and changes. It's in these moments of uncertainty, that the call to courage in faith becomes most vital. Today's gospel brings us to the synagogue in Nazareth, where Jesus takes a bold step in his public ministry. Filled with the Holy Spirit, he reads from the scroll of Isaiah and proclaims a mission that is both grand and radical. That is to bring good news to the poor, liberty to the captives, sight to the blind, and freedom to the oppressed. This wasn't a message of comfort. It was a message of disruption. Jesus' words challenges the status quo. He knows that some will resist his mission, and yet he does not hesitate. In that moment, Jesus shows us what courage in faith looks like, which is stepping forward to live God's mission, even when it might not be welcomed. The courage of Jesus mirrors the courage of the Magi, or I would say probably the other way around. The courage of the Magi mirrors the courage of Jesus. The Magi left the safety of their homes to seek the truth. They risked danger on the road and took on the bold steps of returning home by a different path, defying what Herod asked. Both the Magi and Jesus demonstrate that faith and courage are inseparable. But what about us? How does this call to courageous faith speak to our lives? Disruptive, challenging the status quo, faced with resistance, us, me, you? Faith asks us to trust, even when the future feels unclear. It asks us to stand for justice, even when it's uncomfortable. It asks us to believe that God is at work, even when we can't see the whole picture. Now consider moments in your life when you have needed courage. Perhaps it was speaking up for someone who needed a voice. Maybe it was persevering through a difficult season, trusting that better days would eventually come. Or maybe it was as simple and yet as profound as choosing to be kind in a world that often rewards self-interest. This kind of courage isn't easy. The Magi had questions. Jesus faced rejection, and we too may face doubts or fears. But as we see in today's gospel, courage isn't about having all the answers. It's about stepping forward anyway, trusting that God is with us. The reading from Isaiah, which Jesus proclaims, isn't just his mission, it's ours too. We are called to bring good news to the poor, to work for liberation and to work for healing, to be the light in a world that often seems heavy. And just like Jesus, just like the Magi, we don't do this alone. The same Spirit that filled Jesus is with us, is guiding us, is strengthening us. So as we close this Christmas season and step into what's coming next, let's dig deep and find the courage we need to bring the mission we share with Jesus. Disruptive, challenging the status quo, faced with resistance. Us, me, you, yes, yes. The Lord is near, just as he was near to the Magi and to Jesus in the synagogue. We need to carry that courage forward, not only in grand acts, but in the small ones too. Our daily choices that reflect God's love and justice. In a world yearning for hope, our courage and faith can be the star that guides others. Like the Magi, like Jesus, let us step forward, courageously trusting that God will light the way, not just for ourselves, but also for those who seek hope and truth.